Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an absolutely incredible day. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. There's a picture of a coin with arms wearing a half suit holding open a briefcase full of money. That's literally what's on the screen right now. Stablecoin issuer Circle has been in the news a lot recently. For those of you who have missed it, Circle works with Coinbase and they made the USDC coin. And for some reason over the course of the last 55,000 weeks, they've constantly been in the news promoting their USDC stablecoin, trying to make it as popular as Tether. What's the other thing? They also have a layer 2 solution from Coinbase, which other coins have also been put on top of, and there was something else happening with Coinbase as well. The point to be made is that they keep trying to put this coin in the news to try and get you to understand that it should be popular. Stablecoin issuer Circle has launched a Stellar-based version of its euro-backed stablecoin, the EURC, the EURC. According to an announcement, the EURC was previously only available on Ethereum and Avalanche networks. A really easy way to get people to know your coin or to want to use your coin is by putting it on other blockchains. We started seeing that a number of years ago with Tether. I think that a part of it was supposed to be that they were trying to become more decentralized, wink. Because regulatory scrutiny kind of puts you in a place where if regulators decide to shut down your operations and you're only on one chain, you kind of, you got to do it. But if you spread across 15 different chains, you can say, well, those other chains are decentralized. We have no real control over what's going on, blah, 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 blah. So this is why this new coin, and also we're seeing a huge uptick in the amount of euro stable coins and yen stable coins that are beginning to pop up. I guess because these countries now have high amounts of cryptocurrency regulation, and therefore I guess there's going to be a major market for them potentially over the course of a bull run. So now the Circle coin, which was the Euro version, which was only on Ethereum and Avalanche, is now moving to Stellar. I can only assume that we are going to get news within the next couple of weeks that it's going to be on 3 or 4 other blockchains as well because, decentralization and all that. Here's a tweet for it right there from Stellar Lumens. It says, "Hello Europe. Meet our new friend EURC on Stellar. Same speed, low cost, and reliability of the Stellar network. We all know and love in a brand new currency." And hold your horses. With Circle's EURC, we can't wait to see what real world utility builders unlock next. And then they show someone standing on stage talking about the coin. So not the most exciting thing, at least to me, but as you might have guessed, this actually ended up making relatively popular news because I still think that anytime we get news like this, people are told to talk about this news in a friendly manner for whatever the actual reason might be. So in accordance with the daily news laws, here's the fact that Stellar is also trying to make it back into the news as well. I think that they realized that they stood on the sidelines for too long. Stellar was supposed to be a rival of sorts to Ripple and XRP, but you actually have to be good and have to be used to be a rival, and Stellar is not quite there yet. So cool. That's the people from Circle put their Euro stablecoin on top of Stellar and had a panel to talk about it. I don't know what they had to talk about. It's fairly simple. And yeah, let's move on. In the most popular news that humans have ever created, U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres has denied the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC's request to appeal part of her recent decision in its high-profile lawsuit against Ripple Labs over its sale of its digital token known as XRP. I'll try and give it to you relatively quick. The news for this, rather explaining it. So the lawsuit happened. It's been going on for 3 years now. In summertime, we got news. Remember when everyone was like really jovial and super happy? That Ripple had won a portion of the lawsuit that basically stated that the initial sales of XRP did not constitute the selling of an unregistered security, in that the SEC believes that every coin, except for Bitcoin, is an unregistered security, in that when you are buying that coin, they believe, or they are crazy enough to think that you are entering into a contract with the chain as you buy your coins, but that logically doesn't make any sense because that's not what's happening. So when they lost that portion of the lawsuit in the summertime, they announced like a day or two after that they were going to try and appeal another portion of the lawsuit, in that they want Ripple to basically get in trouble for something else. But they were also going to re-appeal the decision from the first judge in stating that, hey, you didn't look at this correctly. You should look at it once again. And that judge, Annalisa Torres, looked at it once again and has denied the SEC their appeal for her to re-look at and reevaluate her decision from what she literally made like 3.5 months ago. I don't think she was going to change her decision anytime soon. In July, Judge Torres found that some of Ripple's institutional sales of XRP were unregistered security offerings in violation of federal law. However, she ruled that other XRP distributions by Ripple did not qualify as security transactions. The idea being, or what the SEC wants, is that whoever made the coin, whoever created the coin, whoever initially set out the coin into the world, you are then signing a contract with them when you buy the coin. But that's simply not the case. So this is what the SEC is having a problem with, because they're, once again, trying to equate nearly a 100-year-old law to the cryptocurrency space. And this is what the SEC had a problem with when they lost that portion of the lawsuit. The SEC quickly sought to appeal the latter part of Torres' order, arguing that it set a dangerous precedent for applying security laws to crypto assets. The idea being, as I mentioned earlier this year, everyone in the cryptocurrency space should have wanted this law to be the way that it currently is, and for the actual ruling and for Ripple to win. Why? Because if Ripple wins, then everyone else wins. If Ripple loses the lawsuit and the case, then the SEC has the power to say, well, one of the largest coins on the market fell by our hands, therefore every other coin is smaller, has less of a market, has so and so, then every coin ends up getting in trouble as well. So that's the dangerous precedent. The dangerous precedent for the SEC is that they lost and will continue losing. That's literally it. But Torres has rejected the SEC's appeal bid, finding it did not meet the legal standard for an early appeal before the trial. Someone said here, okay, it's Judge Torres, and I quote, "If a buyer then purchases XRP from the exchange with the intention of later selling XRP for a profit, she would have purchased XRP with an expectation of profit. But that motive was not derived from the entrepreneurial or managerial efforts of others." Basically, if you bought it on a cryptocurrency exchange, if you buy your XRP on Coinbase, it's not because you contacted Ripple directly and was like, hey, can I buy this off of Coinbase? They send you a piece of paper, you sign it, you send it back to them, and then you're allowed to buy on Coinbase. The rejection of the SEC's motion to appeal is seen as another significant victory for Ripple, which has been fighting this lawsuit for several years, which seemingly will never, ever, ever end because the SEC is so very desperate to try and get in control of any portion of this market. As you might have imagined, this was exceptionally popular. Everyone was talking about it, all over the place news. Someone wrote on Twitter, "Don't get too excited about the denial of the SEC's interlocutory appeal in Ripple. It doesn't mean the SEC lost its appeal. It means that if the SEC wants to appeal, it has to appeal everything at once after the trial." Yep, you heard that correctly. So in typical SEC fashion, what this basically means is that when the entire lawsuit is over with Judge Torres, if the SEC is insane enough, they can try and launch another lawsuit against Ripple that they might then lose again. And or people are saying that the only thing really after this is for them to take it to the Supreme Court. For those of you who I don't even say like know how things work in the US, it's kind of course, the Supreme Court is like kind of the end all. But if it comes to that, it means that the SEC is actually like terribly desperate and we should all like get them some actual counseling. Because in order to take something to the Supreme Court, it means like that is your last step. So they probably, I can only hope for a better future, will not take this to the Supreme Court. There's a lot of rumors that this lawsuit is will end soon, that they're trying to come to a decision, or the judge, who know, I wish I could tell you. I sincerely wish I could tell you. But this has been going on for way too long. It is a discussion in the cryptocurrency space that basically never had any merit, and these people filed a lawsuit against this company for 3 years and they keep losing. And as you might have imagined, it's not too fun for them. This was all over the place. Everyone was talking about it, and people were talking about it on Twitter. SEC served another loss in the Ripple case. They can't appeal the decision until after a trial on remaining issues. So when the entire thing is done again, if they still feel that they should have won, or they want to gain control because they have nothing else to do with their lives, then they can do it again. But I think they'll have to wait like a year. There's like a certain amount of time. They can't do it like the very next day again. But of course, once again, very popular news, tying loosely, directly into this. U.S. regulators argued on Tuesday that Coinbase's attempt to toss out the securities law violation it faces should be rejected, asserting the crypto exchange's justification contains fatal flaws. On top of the idea that the SEC continues to lose multiple lawsuits, this has actually only empowered Coinbase and Binance over the last couple of months. I'm not sure if you've seen how these people are now writing on Twitter. It's like lightly celebratory, or like they're backing Ripple, or saying that the Ripple lawsuit and many other things, the same exact thing with Grayscale, are setting like a very big precedence for the cryptocurrency space and what the SEC can and cannot do. On top of that, Coinbase and Binance logically are trying to get their lawsuits thrown out because they don't want lawsuits against them. And part of the problem is that if the SEC once again loses these lawsuits, or the lawsuits do get thrown out. Did you guys see the movie It, like the remake, or even maybe the original one? Like, this isn't a spoiler. This movie came out like 9,000 years ago. So basically the entire point of It is that if you're scared of him, he becomes a gigantic monster. The more you fear him, the larger he gets. I don't know how he's eating people's fear. That's part of the horror movie. The issue is that the more you fear him, the bigger, like literally the larger, like physically in size he actually, I'm raising my arms as if you can see me. This is the larger he gets. But however, the opposite becomes true when the other characters realize, wait, he's just a clown, and they start laughing at him and making fun of him. He actually becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't know why I chose It, but it seemed, I don't know, comparable to everything that's going on with Gary Gensler. The idea being, the more that they continue to lose, the smaller the SEC gets. You can't say like that they've lost something and then they keep reappealing it and then keep losing it. You have no real say in the matter if every single judge continuously comes forward and says like, what are you guys doing in here? Like, the SEC has lost once again, bangs their gavel. So Coinbase is trying to get this entire thing thrown out, as is Binance. The SEC's claims are that the things that Coinbase and Binance are offering on their websites constitute unregistered securities, or that they've been offering coins that are unregistered securities, or when people are staking on Coinbase, it's an unregistered security. They're trying so desperately, and I say this in the nicest way because I don't like to ever wish ill on anyone. But by golly, I sure do hope that the SEC continues to lose these lawsuits, because it just continues getting better and better every single day to see that these people have been trying so desperately to control this market over the course of the last decade. If you think about that time frame, that makes it even worse, because it's been a solid 10 years that these people have not given cryptocurrency regulation and have only been suing other companies. But the more they continue to lose, the better, of course, it looks for us. They should have just given proper cryptocurrency regulation, and now they find themselves constantly in court cases that they cannot win. So yeah, the other big news is that the company Coinbase is trying to get the lawsuit dismissed, saying that there's no actual legal grounds for anything that the SEC is trying to say. There's no time frame for when this might go through, when the SEC might lose, when Coinbase might win, when the thing might actually have some sort of a judgment. It's more of they're trying to get it thrown out. And the SEC is like raging in the corner because they're tired of, not jokingly, they're tired of losing. And they want to make sure that something falls in line with them. That's part of the bad precedence of these other companies. What do you call it? It's not a ruling. Like when you kind of just give the SEC money to like make them stop talking, which a lot of other companies have done because the SEC knows that they have the power. If they go after companies who have a valuation of like $54 million and they say, hey, we're going to take you to court for the next 3 years, and you see that Ripple had to pay $100 million for all their legal fees so far, as a company, you go, okay, cool. We'll just pay you the $10 million to get the entire thing shut down. We'll only answer to you from now on. So cool. I think that was it. Is that it? Yeah, that was all. That was the bulk of the SEC news. It will be continuing for a while. I don't think these people are going to let up. I can't begin to imagine how much they're going to rage when there's actually like a really big like bull run in the market and people are making tons of money again. That was also one of their problems. People were making too much money. Where's all this money going? What's happening? It's like, please stop. Please go somewhere else. But they're not until they have so many losses in their lawsuits that they'll basically stop trying. But I think we have another good 5 years. I know it's a long time of the SEC doing what they're doing. So cool. Coinbase is by far not one of my favorite companies, but of course I do hope that they win just because, corruption and all that. That's the Coinbase SEC Ripple XRP lawsuit thrown out. You can't refile. What was it? You can't do that again. The court decision, something like that. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Also in the news, we're back at it again, where a lot of people are beginning to announce what they think or could potentially be partially happening sometime in the future. Macro economist Henrik Zerberg thinks that Bitcoin and other risk assets are gearing up for a monster move, with the trend still in its early stages. Zerberg's predictions are based on the Bitcoin to the SPX, the S&P 500 ratio, an indicator that compares Bitcoin's performance to that of the S&P 500 index within the stock market. These are quite common. It's the same exact thing with the stock to flow ratio. People compare Bitcoin to other assets. We saw that before. It was like 2 weeks ago where there was the other guy. Was it? No, it wasn't Jim Lee. Was it something Wu? Maybe Willie Wu? I don't remember. Somebody was on a... Anyway, the point is, a lot of people look at the metrics of Bitcoin comparative to other assets and they kind of say, hey, we've seen before that this asset does A and then Bitcoin does B. When this thing takes place in this market, Bitcoin comparatively does the exact same thing. A lot of it is heavily resting on the idea of the Bitcoin bull run, the Bitcoin halving, the 2024, 2025 prices moving up. We saw this also earlier this year as well. It's not that this isn't new, but now I'm seeing a lot more brand new price predictions popping up as to where Bitcoin is going to be. I've seen conflicting rumors, and I don't know which one is true. I heard from a couple of people that the US dollar, like the Dixie index wasn't doing too well and was going down, and then therefore Bitcoin was going up. I also heard from someone else that the US dollar was doing just great and was nearing parity with a bunch of other currencies and was getting stronger, and therefore Bitcoin was also going to move up. So I think everyone just kind of throws out predictions at a certain point up to what they think could possibly be. I told you all, and I've been telling you this for the entirety of the year. It's not that I don't pay attention to these things. It's more of a, when Bitcoin moves, it is going to move. The point of the market for me is that I've been in so many cycles. I've been through the mud. I've been through the, I can't say that word, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So when Bitcoin is down, when the cryptocurrency market is lull, when everything is, new all-time lows. I can't believe we went that low. It's just a moment for me personally, for my portfolio when I buy, because I've seen before when we get near the halving, prices go up. After the halving, prices go upper. It's kind of the same thing over and over. So I think the only significant part then becomes like how high we will actually go. This economist, Henrik Zerberg, believes that we are going to have a $200,000 Bitcoin at some point over the next 12 to 18 months. This is a very common price prediction. I think the crazier ones were 250,000 to 300,000 by like the middle or end of 2025. That is to say, there's not a lot of Bitcoin left. A lot of Bitcoin keeps being taken off of cryptocurrency exchanges. A lot of people are buying. You know the whole story. I don't have to go over the entire thing all over again. But this will then, of course, propel us to brand new all-time highs, yada, yada. Ethereum goes to 15,000. XRP goes up to $10. You kind of name it. Cardano does a backflip or something like that as well. So cool. I assume by the time we get to December, heaven help us, because we are going to have an egregious amount of price predictions for the cryptocurrency market. And it's usually mainly Bitcoin. That one's far more impressive. You can say you think that XRP is going to go to $12 or Ethereum may go to 15, 16,000. But the real kicker is the sound of the number. So if you say that Bitcoin's going to 200,000, you're like, whoa, that's a bigger number than 10, 11, and or 12. So cool. Another economist has come forward talking about that he foresees great things in the cryptocurrency market. We get this news roughly around once a week. Maybe every 10 days. A lot of times I don't bring it to the news because it's like, oh, you also believe that the prices will go up? Well, that's crazy. The ones that really annoy me are the people, not this guy, but the people who talked negatively about cryptocurrencies for a number of years. They became crypto bros, wink, like out of nowhere. Oh, now I understand that Bitcoin's amazing. And they're talking about all these crazy price predictions and where the market's going to go as if we don't already know. It's kind of like before. I'll move on after this. It's kind of like before, like whenever we hear from like Mike Novogratz or any of the other people who are like, Bitcoin's going to 30,000. And I'm like, you know, we went there already. And they go, uh-oh, Bitcoin's going to 45,000. It's like, yeah, we already hit those numbers. If you give us something else. Anyway, cool. That's the economist has predicted Bitcoin is going to have a monster move on the table, on the cards, inside the cards, somewhere on the table over the course of the next couple of months. It seems believable because it's what's happened like the last other 4 or 5 times before. So we can only logically assume that the bull market's going to bull again. That's the economist monster Bitcoin news. And yeah, let's move on. In totally surprising news, you can hear my excitement, or rather my surprise. My surprise is more accurate. In a move that sent shockwaves through the cryptocurrency space, because this is the first time that this has ever happened. Like the first time. Like you will never hear this news ever again because it's the only time it has ever happened. MicroStrategy, the company that's been buying Bitcoin for the last 18 and a half years, has announced that they purchased 5,445 more Bitcoin and have added it to their corporate treasury. Surprising, right? Nope. The latest acquisition, made in the end of September, comes at an average price of around $27,000 per Bitcoin, amounting to just around $147.3 million for the purchase. For those of you who don't know MicroStrategy, you have to be brand new here. If you are, hello, I tip my digital hat in your direction. MicroStrategy is like the physical embodiment of was it Jack Dorsey? Jack Dorsey being the largest Bitcoin bull that there actually is out there. MicroStrategy is this company who a couple of years ago announced that they were getting into Bitcoin. Everyone was like, yeah, we got another company in the cryptocurrency space. And then we quickly realized that they were really into Bitcoin. Like they've been taking on her, she's been going on a lot of dates with Bitcoin, over and over and over. But then it's got to the point where they're kind of, the people from MicroStrategy, the guy who owns it is called Michael Saylor. He said that he basically wants to own all the Bitcoin. Not like some of the Bitcoin. He's like, yeah, we're going to continue buying basically forever. This is the company, for those of you who were not here, who has multiple times gotten themselves in like $500 million worth of debt. That is billion with a B as in Barney, who got themselves in $500 million worth of debt, used that debt money and bought up tons of Bitcoin. Luckily for them, it actually ended up working out and Bitcoin's price actually went back up, because if it did not, that would have been a very, very weird story for the cryptocurrency space. But they continue to buy all the time. And I don't want people to conflate or to confuse the idea of me saying, hey, there's institutions buying up Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is in its own like league. We don't really, I personally don't even consider MicroStrategy to be, there we go, part of like the Bitcoin buying story, because I look into like other companies who like who bought their first 1,000 Bitcoin, and then we talk about the significance of it comparative to how many people on the planet will never be able to own one entire Bitcoin because of it. MicroStrategy is like this monstrous entity that we see floating towards us that is continuously absorbing more and more Bitcoin and will simply do so forever. So they count, but they also don't count, because like they're so big, they're kind of, anyway. The purchase brings MicroStrategy's total Bitcoin holdings to a staggering 158,245 Bitcoin. One company, 158,245 Bitcoin, acquired at an average price of around $29,000 per Bitcoin, equivalent to approximately 4.68 billion US dollars, that is owned by one company. Also, don't be confused in forgetting that the CEO of MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, also owns, I think 5 digits, or it's not 6, I think it's 5 digits also of Bitcoin. And we can only assume that, as MicroStrategy is a company that has hired other people, I would also just logically assume that the other people working at MicroStrategy have also been buying their own Bitcoin. Because you put money into this thing assuming that it's going to hit $1 million. Imagine like working behind the desk and you see all your other colleagues are buying this thing and you're like, why are they buying it? I'm not buying any Bitcoin. Oh my gosh, crazy story. I'm reading this book. I'll try and link it in the description, or I'll tell you about it all on Twitter. I'll send you like a photo or something. It's about like how people have gotten rich and how like the concentration of wealth around the world is like concentrating more than it ever has. And one of the stories was about something like what I was just telling you. It was about so like we're in the book, I'm in like the 1980s to 1990s, and they're talking about the rapid accumulation of wealth as a lot of things like within the banking sector began to like allow more things to happen. And the same exact thing like in Eastern Europe and in Russia. And it was talking about how a lot of people, as the wall fell, basically began to get into like, hey, I want to make some real money. And they were talking about this group of people in Russia who in like 1991 or 92 found a way to, what was it? I think they were buying up, or like they were finding old pieces of metal that had been discarded by people in villages and towns and stuff like that. And they were selling it to another company in Western Europe who was then supplying them with like computers, like some of the first computers. And this ended up being incredibly lucrative. And they were saying that they were going crazy because they realized that they collectively, I believe it was 5 guys, they collectively, I think they made $100K. And they said, it doesn't sound like a lot, but back then in 1991, like in Russia, they were like, it was an incredible amount of money. So they were sitting there and they were like, how can we make more money? And one of the people who was actually part of the 5 group of friends, he was like, guys, this is a lot of money. I think I'm done. And he like hung up his hat and left. He was like, 20,000 is an enormous amount for me. Those guys basically ended up creating like the equivalent of Facebook and like Google and all these other things like within Russia, because they basically have their own internet system, for those of you who don't know that. These people are now billionaires, like actual billionaires, because they were like, wait, we made $100K before I'm pretty sure we can do it again. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy story. So that goes with me talking about someone sitting. The point is, I assume that everyone in MicroStrategy also has Bitcoin. That was the point I was trying to make. I don't assume you would see that your company is buying up all this stuff that they had bought for $27,000 and is assuming it's going to go to $1 million, and you're like, I don't want any of that. I'll just take my dollars. I'm fine. Yeah. Very popular news. It's MicroStrategy. They're always in the news. They're always buying more. I am waiting personally, for this company to be worth $500 billion just based off of how much Bitcoin that they have. They've been accumulating for a very long amount of time. And at some point, I mean, it has already paid off, but you get what I mean. It is going to, be a bit staggering when we realize how rich these people actually are and how many other people will never own an entire Bitcoin. It's gonna throw a lot of people for a loop. Yeah. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Jim, Jimmy Jim, American Crypto Academy, Bodie McBoatface, Sam, Ratter, Dotha Diddy, Manny Cryptos, Crypto Gambino, Auspicious Agile and Blockchain, Jamie Saad, and let's move on. Empire Queen, Bitcoin, Ben Arachno, Dave the Dealer's Den, Captain Something in the Z-Way, Lay, Mo, Barazi, VB Nerd 21, Lauren DeSilva, Quoted, Biddy, Troy, All Good, Space Case, Need a Miracle, Paternoster, Navarro Williams, Utopia 569, Moonman High, XR Pinos, Thoroma, John Sarsin, The Adam, Marita, Bibliophobia, Adam Grace, Wise 9 Owl, 242 to the World, Bankroll Network. Did I say that? Bankroll Network, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Setsuna, Paxes, Jim Garner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coin, Jester Crypto, Anytime Fitness, Mouse Corner Staff, Bake Me a Cake, Tigger, Macho Nisa, All Crypto with Lionel, and that was the last one. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.